Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello all my wonderful friends out there. Welcome to my June wrap-up, which, wow, I don't have anything new to say. It came so quick. I can't believe it. We're halfway through the year. Here we are. How's it going? I am just befuddled with where time goes, you know. Today I had to go sign my lease renewal, and it was hitting me while I was signing it that this is a decade that I've been with this company that I've been renting from, or the landlord that I've been renting from. And that's just crazy to me that I've lived in this area for 10 years now. Literally moved in a decade ago. That is just wild. But anywho, you're not here for that or for me to wax poetic on that. And I wouldn't be that poetic even if I was. But we're here to wrap up June and talk about my stats and my favorite reads. So just a couple other things to recap it. This month I think also went by so fast just because there was multiple little trips I went on. I still have another 2 trips coming up this summer, which is honestly like great. You know, I'm really happy that I have things to do this year. I've also made some new friends to do board games with, so I have things to do on the weekends again. And I don't know, it's just been a very long time since I've felt my life has been like busy beyond this, right? Like my job that I've chosen and reading and reviewing and working for my author, that does keep me busy, right? And I could do it all the time, right? But just like when we work in an office and they talk about have a good work-life balance, when you know, own your own business, which I use that because it's weird to say I own it, but when you are self-employed and you do that yourself, it is much, infinitely much harder to have a work-life balance because you can't get away from it, right? And it's not that I want to get away from it, but it's still weird, okay? It's just weird. Let's acknowledge it. It's there. And so to have things that let me kind of put down what I'm doing and go do things with friends and family and things is just so important, right? Again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm 32 years old and I really am just happy that there are still parts of my life that are changing and there's new people to meet. Like y'all out there, we know it is hard to make new friends, but it's even harder to make new friends when you don't do many things different in your life, right? In fact, you tend to kind of like lose friends, not out of any malice. I mean, sometimes, but not out of any purpose or malice. There's just people that you stop seeing because you stop doing the same things as. So anyway, my point of that is I'm very happy with how the summer is going. And though it has led to a bit of some uneven releases and things, I know that you guys want me to live my life, which is great. And I'm happy living my life. So there's all that fun stuff. So yeah, there was 2 weekends in June where I was gone. And so we had those double weekly wrap-ups. We will have another one of those coming for the 4th of July weekend, which that one's nothing new. As I've shared, for the last 10 years, I've went to this family camp trip that I always go to Alexandria, Minnesota with my friend's family. And it's just such a blessing to do every summer. Like for this summer, I was a little hesitant on if I was going to go just because I had those other 2 trips in June and I have one coming up in July. And I was like, should I? And then I was like, no, because soon enough, it'll be fall and it'll be winter and I won't go anywhere again for the whole year, right? Like it's okay for these months to be so busy, you know? And the trip I'm taking later in July is actually during the week again, which I mean, that was my trip to South Dakota was during the week. I got back on a Saturday, which I still missed the weekly wrap up because of that. This one upcoming is going to be to Duluth and it's going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it shouldn't affect video coverage. But the one coming up this weekend, I should have videos pre-filmed going up, but I won't have a weekly wrap up. There'll be another mega wrap up coming after that. So let me know if there's any videos you would like to see specifically during the upcoming month or so, because I am going to be trying to pre-film some things. So let me know. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Just a reminder, as I always have to give at the beginning of these, this will not be a recap of every book I've read this month. As I just mentioned, I do weekly wrap-ups, or in the case of June, there was mainly 2 mega wrap-ups. Each wrap-up had about like 15 books in it. And generally, I do weekly wrap-ups, and I do have a playlist for every book I've read this year. But I don't talk about every single book I read in the monthly wrap-ups. They're just a recap of my stats, you know, obviously as I've done a bit of me reflecting on what the previous month was like, if there was any big changes and updates and things. And then I talk about the top 5 books that I've read, which is always fun because we just get a gush about everything. So let's get into it. The stats for June are I read 28 books, and that was 9,799 pages, which I believe that June ties for my lowest month. I think February was also 28 books. Or no, February was 29, so this might be my lowest month, which, you know, no surprise there because I was traveling a lot, and I was still happy about how many books I got through during my travels, but it did slip below my pace for the year, which is 1 book per day. But you know what? Obviously, I'm doing fine, and that's okay. But yeah, there was 29 books read, and the pages there. So then the formatting was I had 8 advanced listening copies, which are audiobooks, 3 audiobooks that I just read because, so a total of 11 of those. Then there was 11 ARCs, or ARCs, which are advanced reading copies, and there was 8 ebooks, and then I had 9 physical books. So as always, that is a usually when I have an ALC, there's usually a physical book or ebook that goes with it, so that's why that number doubles up a little bit. The ratings of these books were, I actually had 2 DNFs this month, which I maybe will talk about. I'll talk about those briefly. They were both new releases that just weren't for me. There was 2 5 stars, which is probably the lowest number of 5 stars that I've had as well. I had 5 4.5 stars, 10 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, 5 3 stars. That is crazy. Wow. 1 2.5 star and 1 2 star. So this is actually great. Like, this is why I like reflecting on stats. This may be my lowest average rating month that I've had all year. Like, to have 5 3-star reads, that is bonkers. Like, there were some tough ones to get through this month. That is true. There was. Yeah, there were some tough ones to get through for sure. But yeah, as I said, there were 2 DNFs, and those were just books that I wasn't vibing with. That's usually what happens when I DNF, and I tend to hop out of those books sooner rather than later so that I don't end up with a low-rated book. Now you may ask, well, then why do I have so many that are 3 stars or below? And for the most part, that's because those were books I could not tap out on. One of those truly low-rated books was a Patreon read, which I had to finish and review. And then one of them was actually one of the paid annotated books that I did. So usually if I have to push through a book, it's because I'm like spiteful about the book, and or I have a commitment above and beyond my normal, you know, like if it's an ARC review, I'm not forced to finish that book, and so I'll usually DNF it, but I had to finish those. So that's actually why. So that's interesting. But you know what? We got to have some book that is our least liked book of the year. You know, that's just true. It'll make for good TV at the end of the year when I wrap up my least favorites, right? So there's that. Okay, then the subgenres though were, I had 12 contemporary, 7 dark, 2 dystopian, 2 erotic, 1 fan fiction. Finally, I squeezed a fan fiction back in. I was like, I want one this month, and so I squeezed one in there. 1 historical, 2 paranormal, and 1 sci-fi. So that was the subgenres. So now let's get into my top 5. And as you saw with that, I only had 2 5-star reads. I didn't have any 6-star reads. And so my favorites this month, I do want to put out there, I think I was rating a little bit harder this month, and I'm not sure why. Like, there's a few in here that I feel like I could have bumped them up to a 5-star, particularly one of the last ones I'm going to talk about, but there was just a few things that bugged me. And in one of them, as you'll see, it is like a book 5 in a series, and I liked it a lot, but I liked others in the series better, so that's why I got a 4.5 star. But these are still my top 5 reads of the we're gonna do this we're gonna do this today. But these are still my top 5 reads of the month. It doesn't matter what the rating ended up being, but let us do this. So starting off, part of the reason I bring that up too is one of these books, I don't normally share with you guys what my ratings are for this author, and maybe you'll know who I mean, but because I had so few 5-star reads, you're gonna know that I rated it this, but I'll just tell you, whatever, you guys know me. So I gave Protected a high rating, shall we say, and this is from Claire Kent, aka Noelle Adams, aka an author that I work for. And as you know, whenever I recommend one of their books or talk about them, I don't generally tell you what I rate them, because I just don't think it's fair, as someone who, let's be honest, I am influencing people to pick up books, to double dip in that and encourage you guys to read a book that I directly benefit from being successful is just something I try to be extremely transparent about. So just know I'm about to gush like crazy about this book, but just keep it in mind. If you want to decide that makes me very biased because I work for the author, you can use your intelligent brain to decide that. Or as I always say, just keep in mind that I've been a fan of this author for literally, I think, 6-7 years now, and I've only worked for her since January, so you can decide. But I just always be super duper transparent whenever I'm talking about one of her books, that I'm A, already a super fan, and B, the success of her does reflect well upon me. So hopefully that's all out there and nobody feels like I'm hiding the bag. I feel like I wear it out there loud and proud, but I did have such a good time with this book. Okay, so as always, I'll tell you a bit of the story, like behind me reading it and everything, because still one of the greatest joys as the PA for an author is getting early access, right? And the fact that I am for an author that I just so dearly love, and honestly, she's such a humble woman, that her stories make me so happy. Now, one of the things too about books by Claire Kent and Noelle Adams is they're very simple stories in general. There's usually no huge twist to them. There's usually no huge like shock. They're just a very steady books. And for that reason, I in general rate 90% of her books at like a 4-star, you know, back when I was rating them so blatantly then, right? Because they're just comforting to me. There's just something about her stories that are comforting to me in the way that she writes dystopian romance and even her contemporary romance. I personally feel like her contemporary romance is a lot angstier than the dystopian stuff, because that's where a lot of the conflict in those books comes from, is that they're angsty. But let's talk about this. So this is a part of the Kindle universe, and it is actually now the book that is set the earliest in the timeline, okay? Earlier this year, we had Devotion come out, which is the book that is the latest in the timeline, okay? Protected is set just 2 years after Impact that hit Earth, okay? Now, in the Kindle universe, Impact was the like society / world ending event that happened that sent everyone, you know, asunder. It destroyed society. And 2 years after Impact, we're not even fully getting like the sun yet, right? Like the air is still relatively unhealthy, but there is now still a lot more danger from the people at this point, because we're in that more still initial where the status quo is being set up. There's not fully the gang of wolf packs yet, which again, if you read the other books, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, this is also a book where you can start the series with, right? In the same way that you can start the series with Last Light, which is where most people do, or you can start with Haven. which officially starts the Kindle series. Both Protected and Last Light are standalone books, right? But in the way that Last Light kind of kicks off the Kindle series, Protected is going to kick off a series called The Wilds, okay? And that's going to take place in like a different part of the country than like the Kindle stuff does, okay? So blah, 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 laying all this out there. It's really not as complicated as I'm making it. What that means is you can straight up start with this book once I tell you what it's about. But that's how the lay of the land is if you're someone who likes reading interconnected books. I'll tell you a few other things about this in just a minute. But that just meant I was so excited. That's the whole point of getting into this. So I loved Devotion, which I did not know was connected to her world when I read it. This one, I knew that it was connected. This book was also released in a serialized format to start with, so a lot of people have read it already if you were signed up for her newsletter. But it was fleshed out a little bit. And what's cool is that she now has a timeline that is put in the back of all the books too, which is fun. So that we can be, like, it explains things better than some of the other ones did. So, all that to say, this book is about, Lila and Deck. And Lila, we discover, has been living on her own for the past 6 months since her boyfriend died, and she's been surviving on her own. And in the beginning of this book, she runs into a group of people led by this guy named Logan, and one of the men who like works for his crew, his name is Deck. Now, Deck is nonverbal. He is nonverbal because of some trauma that happened early on after impact, which of course you'll experience as you read through the book. But Lila is found, and Logan, again, the leader of this group, who I'm going to put this out there, he is a figure that will remind you a lot of Mac. I mean, it's not the same scenario at all, but if you've read the Kindle series, you'll know there was this character named Mac who we just heard of him as kind of like this. He was this hero who showed up at times when we needed him throughout the series. And Claire has said that Logan will be that type of character, but he leads this group, and they are a roving group that they move from place to place wherever. When they find supplies, they work together. They have rules set in place, but they are a friendly group, as it were, at least friendly to Lila, and she gets invited into the group, and Logan asks Deck to keep a particular eye on her. So also because she is quite a bit smaller, Deck is this big, bearded, hairy dude, very gruff, obviously silent because of him being nonverbal. And Lila is a little bit annoyed that he's the one watching out for her. But after early on, when Deck proves how much he will look after her and kind of saves her from a situation, he then starts teaching her a few self-defense moves, and she goes about teaching him some sign language, both some sign language that she's already known because of someone she knew who knew it, and then they also create some of their own signs as well, and that happens throughout the story, which I loved. So for all that setup I got through, right, obviously I have a lot to say about this because I have watched it come together and it's made me very excited, and this was the first book that I got to like lead the ARC team for it and help make sure that reviews were getting done. So this book just holds that like nostalgic place already, even though it's like just coming out. It holds that place for me. So that made this a experience that needed to be in my favorites of the month. And that's just how it is, right? Again, I'm biased. I wear that bias out there. Just know that. But if you like the Claire Kent world, I don't see a reason why you would dislike this book. There were some cameos from characters that you meet in Homestead, which maybe will surprise you. But there is literally some direct characters that you meet. Now, because this is set in year 2 and Homestead is set in year, I think, 8 or 9 is when Homestead is set. We see those characters way before we'll ever see them later on. But it makes sense because if you've read the end of the Kindle series, you'll know that the Wilds is going to be set not far away from where the Homestead group is set up, because we encounter some characters who came out of the wild and everything. So all that to be said, the way that this will lead into the Wild series is, as I said, Logan will be a character that is kind of the peripheral character in that series. And you find out a few things about him in here and what that story might be, which is very interesting. And he has some, is it him? Or no, there's a brother and sister pair that are in the group. And book 1, which will be Lost Song, the brother in that brother-sister group, I think, is the one getting Lost Song, which is coming in February. So it's a ways to go for that one still, but this world is far from done. There's also, so yeah, this is available. The paperback's available now. You can order it. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be doing a giveaway. There are also 5 other Instagrammers who will be doing giveaways for a signed copy of Protected. I got all those signups set up and everything for them. So if you want to win a signed copy from Claire, go ahead and make sure you follow my Instagram and everything. I'll have that giveaway listed soon. Where else was I going to say though? There is another story coming from her that will connect to the Kindled world eventually. And I can't talk about that too much, but if you watched my weekly wrap up yesterday, you'll know that there is a book coming from her in a dystopian collection with some other authors. And I also read that this month, and that book was fascinating. That one's a bit darker of a dystopian as well, because it has a bit more of like government control style stuff coming, right? A bit more along the lines of like Devotion or something like that. But again, don't want to spoil it. But all those books will take place in the same universe. However, once Noelle gets the rights to those stories back, you may see some changes happen. Let me just say that. I can't spoil things, but also, if you love her dystopian books, it'll be great. And the teases that I'm seeing for all the other authors involved in that as well, I'm very excited about. I may try to see if I can, I don't know, do I have any power as a PA to like get arcs for some of those? I don't know, but I want to try. We'll see if I can. So anywho, enough of that. Let's move along to the next one that I also gave 5 stars to. I read near the beginning of the month as well, and that was Bourbon and Proof by Victoria Wilder. This is book 3 in the Bourbon Boys. It is the final book in the series, and I love this series. I'm pretty sure all 3 books have been in a favorites list as they came out. I love the covers. These covers were designed by a artist who, let me see, her name is Lonnie Carr, and she does these illustrations. The Whiskey Ginger is her name on Instagram, and I just love it. I love seeing artists this talented. I love this style of cover that looks kind of like a, this like, I don't know, what's this art style? I don't even know, but this artist is so talented. I love all these covers so much. But this one is a marriage of convenience, but it's also a best friend's brother. And it's also, we've both been secretly longing for you. It's also, I'm not good enough to kiss the ground you walk on, but now I'm going to make you mine. This has some slight daddy kinks to it. Just a dash of it, like just delicious bits of it. And in this, we have the character of Hadley, and then we have Ace, who, as I said, is one of the Bourbon Boys. And she has wanted him and he has wanted her for a long time. And there are things that have kept him apart and things that have kept him from admitting how much he wants her. And Hadley, as I've said, has like always wanted him, but she's not going to force it to happen because it is her best friend's older brother as well. But when a scenario comes about that she's in danger from some stuff that her father has done, and he needs a wife so that he can inherit still, they get married. Now he's very determined to be like, this will be a marriage in name only. I'm going to take care of you. We're both going to help each other out by being partners, and like that's going to be that's it. And Hadley is like, boy, I'm going to make this the hardest thing you've ever had to do. And there is a suspense element going on. There is drama in this small town, but there's also like she also has like a found family aspect with his family. She's like an aunt to his nieces as well. And I just love all the characters, and everyone we've met through the series so far plays a role in this story. But it also is just so sexy at the same time. Like these two have such good chemistry, and it just boils beneath the surface. Like it is just simmering, and it is just popping and hissing, and then when it explodes, boy does it ever explode. It is fantastic. And I loved these characters. I love this family, and I cannot wait for the next series, which is going to be called The Whiskey Women, and we've already met some of the characters for that. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some characters that Ace works with who are going to be in The Whiskey Women, and I just can't wait for it. So yeah, this series is like, it's like cowboy, it's a bit edgy, it's suspense without being too overly dark, but also it's a hot series, and like I just love it. I just love all the aspects of it. It makes me so happy, and I really think you should read this. Start with Bourbon and Secrets, I think is number 1, and then Bourbon and Lies, and then Bourbon and Proof. So good. Okay, then now we were into the 4.5-star ones for me. Like I said, I feel that these were really, really close to being 5-star reads, each of them, but there was always a book in the series before them that I liked a little more, so it ended at like being a 4.5 for these next 2 books I'm going to talk about. But I really enjoyed them, and I rated them a 5-star on Goodreads. They're just kind of a 4.5. So the next one for me, I had an ALC of this book, and then I received a physical copy from the author because she is just so good to the influencers who love reading her books. And I'm just so blessed to be on her PR list for these because I just adore them. But there was At the Edge of Surrender by A.L. Jackson. And this is an author, as I said, that I have had ups and downs with. Like sometimes, like particularly at the end of the last series, I was getting a bit annoyed with some things that were repeating over and over in that series. But with this series, I just love the mission of this group. And so that carries it through for me. Whereas the previous series, I feel like there wasn't a great through line in the Time River series, right? Like they were, you know, it was family members and it was stuff like that. And like, that's great for a small town. But this series has such a good through line, and the Sanctum, the secret, is it Sanctum? I want to call it the Sanctum Sanctorum or something, but I can't remember I just want to call them the Sanctum, but they're this secret society that like rescues women and children from domestic violence, domestic abuse situations. And so that gives the heart of these men such a like, I don't know, it gives them a mission that I just enjoy reading so much. So that helps carry at times in the story where there may be some weaknesses, more so than in Time River. Anyway, I'm making that comparison. There's still great books in the Time River series, no doubt. I'm just saying that I think that maybe the author didn't have the best story built out for each of those characters. She just knew that those characters all needed stories. You know what I mean? You can start to get that vibe in a like long, you know, a series that they've already set up the series before they've like started writing it, you know? Whereas this one, because of the work that they do, there's a whole wealth of stories to pull from because of their jobs, right? Like, you know that this job that they do is going to lead to drama. It's going to lead to story. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it feels for me. And in this one, we have Kane, and what is his job in the group? I can't remember. One of them does the actual snatching. One of them, I think he's the one, does he do the actual snatching? One of them does like the paperwork. One of them does like the scouting. One of them does the like getting new identities. Like each one does a different thing. I can't remember what Kane does. Oh, does he provide the location for them? I think he provides like the safe place for them to go. I think that's what he does, because he is a like bar owner, and there's also a location where, yes, that's what he does. He provides a location for them to be as almost like a safe house before they're able to move on. It isn't a place that he directly runs it, but like I believe it's one of his like properties. Tell me if I'm wrong if you read this, but that's what I believe I'm remembering. And that's because when they rescue a mom and her kid, we then see that mom and a kid, and again when they're like checking in on them and everything. And I love it too, because like they have a doctor who's on their payroll. They have a police officer in the town that's not, like, payroll's the wrong word, because they're not like paying him off. He's in on it and wants to help. So that's what I mean by that. It's not like they're slipping him money under the table to look the other way. He's in on the mission. That's what I mean to say, is they all want to help in whatever ways that they can, which we love to see it. That's what we want. But anywho, to get to that, so Cain owns this bar. And in the beginning of this book, we have Embry, and her mom and her niece are going to meet Cain, though they don't know that's who they're going to meet, because Emery's sister has recently died and told her that they didn't know who her child's father was, and her sister has confided that Cain is the father, and please take my child to him. He's not going to know about her. I wasn't able to tell him when I was alive. So there's all these mysteries piling up, like, why didn't the sister tell her? Who is this guy? He seems a bit shady, like all these things. And then we also have Emery being heartbroken because her and her mom were going to take care of her niece, but now they're going to be just handing her over to Cain. And actually, her and Cain meet each other before she knows who he is, and they almost have a one-night stand. I think they don't fully have a one-night stand, but like he gets her off in his office at the bar or whatever. And then the next day when she goes to introduce herself to her niece's father, she discovers it's him, and she's like, well, this isn't a great guy. And that did make me roll my eyes a bit, because I'm like, girl, you were just going to hook up with him in his office, but because he was going to hook up with you, that makes him a bad guy? I don't know. It's one of those. But as they begin to get to know each other, she realizes what an actual, like, great guy he is, even if it is a bit of a dangerous life. And she also realizes he would fight to the death to protect her niece. And so these two begin to know each other. And of course, because it's A.L. Jackson, and also because it's a romance, there is a connection between these two that neither of them is aware of, that is going to have some serious fallout once we become aware of it. So yeah, 4.5 stars. I love these books. Again, absolutely beautiful. Look at them on the cover. Oh gosh, she just does so good. But I will say I always recommend the audiobooks of those, because I do think that the writing lends itself better to being read out loud than necessarily read on page. It can be a bit overly purple prose if you do that, let's say. Okay, next up, another one that I gave 4.5 stars and just recently released is Empire of Seduction by Mila Finelli. And a big reason for me that this one was a 4.5 star is that the heroine got a little bit away from me there for a little bit. But I just generally, I think Mila Finelli writes bombastic, over-the-top mafia plots. And so I'm here for the ride. And I was so blessed to be sent a, let me find it, a personalized signed copy of this. When her assistant reached out and asked if I would like one. I had already signed up for the ARC. I was like, say less. Give it to me right now. I want it. And I was so glad that it was the man cover that I got sent, because the one that gets like shown everywhere is the item cover, and like I love her covers. Okay, she gets the sexy ones. Okay, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But anyway, this one involves Vito, who is trying to take over this small winery, family winery, that he wants to add to his family business. And so to do that, he basically tricks the half owner, which is the son of the deceased owner. The son and the daughter like co-run it. And he basically tricks that guy into gambling it away. And now he owns, I think, like 70% of the family business, barely leaving anything for the son and the daughter. Now, let's say that this winery is barely holding itself together as it is. But the heroine, it is her life's passion. She's been working this in her like family's name, and she's very devoted to it. She's the one who like takes care of the vines and is trying to do her best. But the wine isn't that good, and it really isn't doing that great. And so Vito kind of sees it like he's doing them all a favor, because he's going to take over controlling interest and hopefully make this place a success. But Maggie, our heroine, is like, fuck to the no, you will pry this place out of my cold dead hands. And because Vito happens to be a man that Maggie actually had a one-night stand with just a little while ago, she also thinks he was trying to manipulate her, when really they just had a crazy connection and fucked each other's brains out one night. And now it's this awkward thing of like, oh, well, I'm having to see you every day and I just want to fuck you, and really I've stolen your family business from you. So you can see there are some confusing things going on. Now, Vito also ends up getting on the wrong side of a biker gang in this area. And so now there's a bit of a territorial dispute. And so there's some suspense that comes into it. But overall, I did find this very charming. Like I said, it's over the top. It is a, one night stand to enemies to lovers. They're fucking with benefits. But I also just had a really good time. Like I said, bombastic, over the top, not overly dark in what's going on. And very delicious. Nice, sexy stuff in here. As I said in my weekly wrap up of this, Vito likes to eat pussy like it's nobody's business. It's his favorite thing to do. He's like, ride my face morning, noon, and night. So like, if you like some of that, we're here. It's here for you in this, we'll just say. But loved it. I love her Mafia series. I can't wait for the next one. One final, I forgot to mention this too, though I did say it in the weekly wrap up. Vito is Enzo's younger brother. He has, there are 3 brothers and 1 sister in this family. And Enzo is from Mafia Madman. And we do have, of course, cameos from him and his wife. And then we have cameos from the characters in the first book, who are actually on an extended honeymoon. But Vito is actually in their territory doing this, and so he has to stay on good terms with him as well. And then again, as I said, he also pissed off a resident biker gang, so things are going to get a bit spicy for everyone, let's just say. Okay, and then the last book I want to put on this list is actually a new to me author, and it's actually a book I just finished yesterday, and it was a 4.5 star as well, and I just enjoyed it so much. And so this book is called The Matchmaker by L. Nickel. Nickel, I'm not sure how to say that yet. And this is, as it sounds, a matchmaker and her client end up falling in love. And this is a pretty big age gap in this one, though. She's 30 and he's 50. So, that is a pretty big one, but oh my gosh, the chemistry between these two. Now, I listened to the audio of this. It was duet narrated by 2 people I don't think I've heard either of them before. It was Madison Mitz and Theodore Zephyr. I don't know that I've heard either of them before. And I loved them. Okay, this was duet narrated. It was fantastic. And I actually read this one because I have an ALC of book 2, though these don't have a series title. They're in a series, like they, as far as I can tell, because they have the same like cover design and they're about characters in the same series. But on Goodreads, they're not listed as a series. But I have an ALC of book 2, which is going to be about the daughter of the hero. And the daughter of the hero, what's her name? Shoot. They all have S names. Sinclair. The daughter's name is Sinclair. She goes by Sin. And the father's name is Sterling. And then the son, I can't remember how to pronounce or what his name is right now either. But anyway, Sterling, his daughter, Sinclair, hires this matchmaker who her company is called like Cosmic Connections. And she has kind of this almost magical ability. Like, truly, you have to read it to understand. And it sounded so cheesy when it started, but it ended up being really cool how it worked out. But she has this kind of like connection to, she can tell when two peoples are meant to be together. And so she's been doing this matchmaking for the past few years. And she does it actually all in like the name of her sister who had passed. Her sister had Down syndrome and died young. And there's a charity in her sister's name. And pretty much all the money she makes from her matchmaking, she funnels into her sister's charity. But she's just such a sweet girl. She's also from England, and this family is in America. They are a very wealthy diamond mogul, or I don't even know how to say it, so they're billionaires. And 2 years ago, the hero's wife and son died. One of the sons, because as we said, there's a son and a daughter still. And they died. And Sinclair wants to find love for her dad. Now, what Sinclair doesn't know, but yet we learn from Sterling's point of view, is that the kids know that the mom had been cheating on the dad because that came out when she died. But they didn't realize so much that her the parents were kind of an arranged marriage, and so he loved his wife. He was hurt that she was cheating on him, but also the man that she was cheating with was who she had like really loved, and she was forced to marry Sterling. And so he's never really felt like he was someone's priority and was loved, right? And so now he's 50. He loves his children. He has a granddaughter too with the one son, and he has a great family, but he's never been in love. But at the same time, he wasn't like this grump or this like crusty, not believing in it. And I don't know, I found Sterling to be such a great character. Like, truly, this 50-year-old silver fox, sexy as sin, which funny thing to say when his daughter's name is Sin. He was just such a great guy. And so when our heroine, Halliday, who goes by Hallie, to him goes by Hallie, but Halliday is her name, she is there to help him find love. And she's kind of a gift to him from the daughter. The daughter is like, Dad, this is your gift. And she's going to find love for you. And Sterling is like, okay, honey, let's try, right? And he is willing to go along with this. And so that means that Halliday and Sterling spend a lot of time together. She's getting to know who he is so that she can find a match for him. And of course, the time they're spending together, they start feeling in love. And now I just want to give an example of what her magic is, because she will just get these vibes about people. And it's funny because when she first meets the son, she gets this crazy spark coming off of the son. But then the dad walks in the room and she's like, oh, I was feeling that spark from the son. And we're not saying like spark as in she was attracted to the son. We're saying literally the energy from his son. She was feeling something off of him. And then when Sterling walked in the room, she's like, oh, that's where that energy is coming from. It's the dad. And so when she's seeing him around different people and things like that, there's one point where they're all like at a meal together with one of the ladies that like she's trying to see if he could match with her, and she's sitting beside the lady and Sterling's across from them, and she's feeling this amazing energy coming. She's like, oh, this is the match, this is going to be good. And that's an example. And later on, when Sterling admits that he's attracted to her more than he's been attracted to any of the women that she's setting him up with, she has a moment where she's like, that's why I was feeling the energy. It wasn't for the woman next to me, it was for me. And so then she has to deal with the thought of like, this could ruin my company if I'm seen as the one who's like stealing the matches from people. And so there's a lot that they have to contend with. There's their big age gap. There's the fact that she's from England and like her parents have already lost one daughter. Like, can she take another child away from them by moving? Like, there was just so much for these two. What I loved is there's no third act breakup in here. I feel like they do fall pretty fast for each other, but in a way it worked for me because of the cosmic connection thing that's put in there. And that is a through line throughout the book. Like, it is real in the story, that she has this extra sense almost. And I found them so charming. I found them both to be such good characters. There was some suspense stuff going on. There's some things to have to do with how the wife died and people trying to get in their way. There's some secrets that Hallie has. And then there was also set up for the Rule Breaker, which I'm actually reading right now. That's the one that I had an ALC for, and they were like, you don't have to, but if you read the Matchmaker, it will set this up. I absolutely understand why, because there literally are some overlapping scenes, and the Rule Breaker is going to be a romance between the daughter, Sinclair, and her bodyguard, Denver, who we get introduced to all of that in this one. So I gave this 4.5 stars. I took out a 1/2 star for, honestly, I don't know what. And this may be the one that I end up bumping up. I think I took 1/2 star off because they did get together relatively quickly in the book. And because there isn't a third act breakup, which I didn't want there to be. Like, I didn't want there to be a third act breakup for this couple because they were just so earnestly into each other. It was so beautiful. But then it ended up being kind of long for them to be together so quickly. And then there was just lots and lots of sex that happened, which again, not the end of the world at all, but I think it could have been. The book is 400 pages, which isn't horribly long comparatively to some books these days, right? But it could have been 50 pages less just for taking out a few sex scenes in here, right? So there's that. But I really love this. I'd never heard of this author before, but there's a new audiobook PR company I'm trying out called Home Cooked Books. They do ALCs. I found them because I was looking for an ALC of a specific book, and the author said they only use this company. And so when I signed up for this PR company, they had this book available. And I mean, you've seen the cover that I showed. I was like, sure, I'll try these. So long story long, if you've never tried El Nickel, the Matchmaker's available right now. The Rule Breaker's coming later in July. And I highly recommend it. Like, it was good. It's a billionaire romance. It's an age gap. And it's just one, like I said, Sterling was so nice and just a gentleman and just charming as hell. And he doesn't play around with her emotions. He's very honest and direct with her. And it truly was a beautiful story between them. It was just, it got a bit like, we did a bit too much after they fell in love. Like, it was kind of like, they're together. We get it, right? So, yeah. I would love for you to try it. I'll have links to all of these books down below. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching this. I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you're in the US, I hope you have a good holiday week. I hope you get some time off with your family. And make sure you like this video, share it with someone you think needs to see it, and subscribe so that you get notified when the next video comes out. And we'll see you next time. Bye.